Hey there everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about The Wide Starlight by Nicole L'Esperance, published by Razorbill in February of this year, actually, not too long ago. So, this was an interesting book. I liked it. Let me start by saying that. I did like it. What it is it's very similar to the Hazelwood in a lot of aspects. You do have a girl who is trying to kind of connect with her past, and you have Eli. She lost her mother at a very young age, and that has left her with a sense of abandonment. It has left her without this sense of self. She has lost a lot in her life. Her family, her and her father, now live in Cape Cod, and it's not like her mother just died. Her mother, there is fantasy in the story. It does do a great job of blending realism with fantasy in a very interesting way, much like the Hazelwood. Now, I know I keep saying it's a lot like the Hazelwood. It is. There are definitely a lot of fairy tale elements in the story, and they are dark, but again, if you're a well-read person, you know that those classic fairy tales, they're dark. I mean, Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, especially Sleeping Beauty, they're dark fairy tales. So it's funny, I'm always telling people, like, the first iterations of fairy tales, especially Sleeping Beauty, because that's the one that always gets me. You know, she has 2 kids before she wakes up. And when I tell people these things, they're just like mind blown, because all they know is Disney. But readers, we know fairy tales. And that's what I think is really great about the story. You know, it has a really nice atmospheric, a nice dark atmosphere to it, but it's not hopeless. You know, it does have that sense of realism. It does have that sense of fantasy to it to keep the reader engaged. Because Eli, you know, a lot of weird things start happening. You know, her and her father live in Cape Cod, and a lot of weird things start happening. She whistled and she made a wish, and all of a sudden, after all these years, her mother returns. But it's not really her mother. It is, in a sense, it is her mother, but even her mother knows that I'm not really here, and you don't really grasp that until the ending. And then you also have these 3 girls, these 3 princesses. They are not good people. They're quite malevolent. They think everything they're doing is to make Eli freer, but they're kind of just destroying Eli's life. And Eli believes in magic because her mother, there is some magic there in the way she tells stories. She brings them to life. She really does bring them to life a lot. Again, very similar to the Hazelwood. These fairy tales are come to life, and I like that. I think it's interesting. I will say this, it was a little bit of a slow start, but I do like the storytelling of it, because whenever Eli is reminiscing of the past, whenever she's coming face to face with her memories, and these memories she has of her mother, which aren't always, you know, sunshines and rainbows. She starts off with Once Upon a Time. So she is telling her story to anyone, you know, who she's talking to, or even to herself. She's writing down her memories in story form, in fairy tale form, and I think that that's very interesting. It's definitely not something I've seen before, which is why I thought it was compelling. And I do like this blend of fantasy. Oh, excuse me. I do like this blend of the fantasy and the realism and these fairy tale, because the author is really, you see, she's trying very hard. You're seeing it. It's not like it's forced. you're seeing how she blends in these classic Norwegian fairy tales with what's happening in Eli's life. And I thought that that was cool. Um, I honestly did. I was interested in that. It was something that was interesting to me. Sorry. It's been a really busy day for me today. I've been running around all day. Um, so I liked it. However, the one hindrance of the story is Eli herself. Understandably, again, she has this hole inside of her. Um, she has this sense of abandonment, kind of, sort of. She needs closure. What she really needs is closure on her mom's disappearance. And luckily she does get that. But throughout the whole story, she seems rather selfish. Like, she doesn't want people to... Here's an example. Her friend, her friend is super smart, excels at everything. High school's not a challenge to her, so she applied to a prep school, one of those pre-college prep schools, like those pre-college programs. And it is a drive away. Eli does not take this news well. Granted, the way she's given the news is by one of the three princesses. They tore out a private thought, from her friend's diary, and it's not super flattering. But you see where her friend is coming from. Her father. Everyone didn't want to tell her because they're like, oh God, how's she going to react? And that tells you something about the character. If she can be happy for you, because at least even a little bit, I mean, she's just putting herself first. It's like, you're abandoning me. It's like, no, I'm not abandoning you. Like, I'm trying to live my life. Like, why can't I live my life? Why do I have to define my life by you? That's not a friendship. And I kind of disliked Eli in those parts, because it's like, Jesus, I understand that you have, issues, with your mother, and, your mother reappearing after all these years is just leaving you super emotional, but you have to be happy for the people you love in life. You have to be accepting of where they're going in life. You can't just be like, oh, me, 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 me. And that's kind of just how Eli is. She's so determined to just find her mother that she doesn't really care. She doesn't care if she makes her dad worry or if she vanishes without telling anyone. She doesn't care. She's just in her own head, in her own space, and it's, again, it's understandable, but it doesn't make her a likable person. That's the problem. It does make her quite selfish, granted. She does grow out of this once she gets that closure. She does move on. But another issue I had with it was, on some level, she has moved on from her mother's disappearance, because her father has dated, and she grew attached to these women that at least one of them, she's grown attached to at least one person who he dated. So on some level, she's kind of moved on. Now, did she attach herself to this person because this was the mother figure that she's been lacking, that she's been missing? Maybe. Maybe that's why she latched on to her, why she connected with her. But the fact is, she's still connected with her. So on some level, she has moved on from her mother's disappearance. And that's why I didn't really understand all of her selfishness. Because it just didn't match up well enough. But again, she does grow out of it. She does develop as a person. Not till the end, but it happens. That's the part. It happened. She opens herself up. And that's what I think her problem is. Like, she's been so afraid of losing someone else, like she lost her mother, that she didn't want to open up and let other people fill that hole inside of her. So she's finally reconnecting, with her aunt that she never really knew, with her grandmother, who she sort of saw as just like this wicked old woman. And it's not. She's not a wicked old woman. Her idea of help was just not what she needed, unfortunately. So she thought she was helping. She thought she was helping by keeping her distracted of her mother. She thought, her grandmother, she thought she was doing what she could. But unfortunately, that just didn't work out. Didn't help out. So, you know, they develop together. They grow together. She forms new bonds. And I think what's also really interesting in this, it's an underlying theme, is when she moved to Cape Cod, she lost her native language, and that was a piece of her that connected her to her mother. So she has lost a part of herself, and she has to refine that part, and that's what really makes it interesting, and that's what makes her worth reading, because ultimately her selfishness doesn't really make her worth reading. Her grief, her need to find closure, those things are relatable, and those are the things that make her compelling, engaging to the reader, because those are things that you can connect to. I think we all need a sense of closure if we lose someone unexpectedly and mysteriously. I think we all sometimes lose ourselves in our grief if we lose someone that was dear to us. And especially if you lose something that is core to who you are, like here, then you're able to connect to Eli as a character. But really, I love the fantasy. I love the fairy tale rendition of the story. Those are the parts that really shouted out to me. Those are what draw me into the story. And halfway through it, I couldn't put the book down. I'm like, okay, I need to know what happened to her mother, because there is this mystery, like what happened to her mother. So you are uncovering this mystery with her mother, and I liked that. I like the imagery. I love the setting. I love the fantasy, and I do think it is ultimately a very compelling read. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Wide Starlight 4 out of 5 stars. If you want to check this book out, please remember to purchase this book from your local bookseller or online book retailer. Just try to avoid Amazon. If money's tight, please check out the book from your local library. Libraries are there for the community and definitely deserve all the support that they can get. And I hope on that note you'll continue to support me by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and sharing with all your book loving friends. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.